Silence, all stand. All persons having any business before this honourable court now draw nigh and give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Queen.
Admission of lawyers. Barbara Bray Aslanidis.
May it please the court, I move that Barbara Bray Aslanidis be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Barbara Bray Aslanidis be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Rebecca Badra.
May it please the court, I move that Rebecca Badra be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Rebecca Badra be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Bianca Isabella Bowser.
May it please the court, I move that Bianca Isabella Bowser be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Bianca Isabella Balzer be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Rasa Gabrielle Bergen.
May it please the court, I move that Rasa Bergen be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Rasa Gabrielle Berger be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Jackson Darcy Bird.
May it please the court, I move that Jackson Darcy Bird be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Jackson Darcy Bird be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Elizabeth Minnie Coombs.
May it please the court, I move that Elizabeth Minnie Coombs be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Elizabeth Minnie Coombs be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Alessandra Cocos Morales.
May it please the court, I move that Alexandra Cocos Morales be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Alexandra Cocos Morales be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
David Richard Corbett.
May it please the court, I move that David Richard Corbett be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let David Richard Corbett be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Olivia Lauren De Pares.
May it please the court, I move that my sister Olivia Lauren De Pares be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Olivia Lauren De Pares be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Melissa Alice Eads.
May it please the court, I move that Melissa Alice Eads be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Melissa Alice Eads be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Michelle Therese Haskew.
May it please the court, I move that Michelle Therese Haskew be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Michelle Therese Haskew be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Sarah Elizabeth Kennan.
May it please the court, I move that Sarah Elizabeth Kennan be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Sarah Elizabeth Kennan be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Georgia Coynes.
May it please the court, I move that Georgia Coynes be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Georgia Coynes be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Sylvia Patricia Lawrence.
May it please the court, I move that Sylvia Patricia Lawrence be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Sylvia Patricia Lawrence be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Pierre Liu.
May it please the court, I move that Pierre Liu be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Pierre Liu be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Brendan Ma.
May it please the court, I move that Brendan Marr be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Brendan Marr be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Nathan Gregory Mayers.
May it please the court, I move that Nathan Gregory Mayers be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Nathan Gregory Mayers be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Annalise Georgia McElvey.
May it please the court, I move that Annalise Georgia McElvey be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Annalise Georgia McElvey be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Alexia Mialopoulos.
May it please the court, I move that Alexia Mihalopoulos be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Alexia Mialopoulos be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
James Bailey Miotto.
May it please the court, I move that James Bailey Miotto be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let James Bailey Miotto be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Stephanie Marie Mulholland.
May it please the court, I move that Stephanie Marie Mulholland be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Stephanie Marie Mulholland be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Philip Blake Nixon.
May it please the court, I move that Philip Blake Nixon be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Philip Blake Nixon be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Augustine Nadozi Ogbuhi.
May it please the court, I move that Augustine Nadozi Ogbui be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Augustine Adozi Obui be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Anusha Puvanandiranathan.
May it please the court, I move that Anusha Punendranathan be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Nusha Puvendranathan be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Vladimir Alexandrovich Shapkin.
May it please the court, I move that Vladimir Alexandrovich Shapkin be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Vladimir Alexandrovich Shapkin be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Rutuja Pravan Shindi.
May it please the court, I move that Rutuja Pravan Shindi be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Rutuja Pravan Shindi be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Brandon William Smith.
May it please the court, I move that Brandon William Smith be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Brandon William Smith be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Hugo Constantine Vlachos.
May it please the court, I move that Hugo Constantine Vlachos be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Hugo Constantine Vlachos be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Shannon Claire Walsh.
May it please the court, I move that Shannon Claire Walsh be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Shannon Claire Walsh be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Julia Louise Wyatt.
May it please the court, I move that Julia Louise Wyatt be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Julia Louise Wyatt be admitted as a lawyer of this court. It will be necessary for the purpose of swearing an oath or making a declaration that all those being admitted today stand up but remain in their current places. Could all admittees please stand?
Barbara Bray Aslanidis. Rebecca Badra. Bianca Isabella Bowser. Rasa Gabrielle Bergen. Jackson Darcy Bird. Elizabeth Minnie Coombs. Alessandra Cocos Morales. David Richard Corbett. Olivia Lauren Deperez. Melissa Alice Eads. Michelle Therese Hasku. Sarah Elizabeth Kennan. Georgia Coynes. Sylvia Patricia Lawrence. Pierre Liu. Brendan Ma. Nathan Gregory Myers. Annalise Georgia McElvey. Alexia Mialopoulos. James Bailey Miato. Stephanie Marie Mulholland. Philip Blake Nixon. Augustine Nadozi Ogbuhi. Anusha Puvanandiranathan. Vladimir Alexandrovich Shapkin. Rutuja Pravan Shindi. Brandon William Smith. Hugo Constantine Vlachos. Shannon Claire Walsh. Julia Louise Wyatt. Do you severally swear or declare and affirm that you will truly and honestly conduct yourselves in the practice of a lawyer of the Supreme Court of New South Wales, and that you will faithfully serve as such in the administration of the laws and usages of this state according to the best of your knowledge, skill and ability? Would you please say, so help me God, or I do?
Please be seated. Now that the formal part of the proceedings has ended, I'd like to warmly welcome you to the Supreme Court of New South Wales. Present with me on the bench today is Justice Campbell to my right, and Justice Wright to my left. Each of their honours are members of the Common Law Division. Together we constitute the court that has, in exercise of its jurisdiction, admitted you to practice. As we gather here today, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. We recognise the long-standing and enduring customs and traditions of Australia's First Nations, and acknowledge with deep regret the role our legal system has had in perpetrating many injustices against Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. To all the new lawyers here today, welcome to the legal profession. Today is a day for celebration. You've all worked extremely hard to get here through caffeine-fueled nights and obscure problem questions, reading countless wafer-thin pages of textbooks and more cases than you can ever hope to remember. Rest assured, for those of you with a bibliophobia, that is a fear of running out of reading material, as lawyers, that will never materialise. You've entered the world of eggshell skulls, encountered the mysterious reasonable person, and have understood that the Constitution consists of so much more than just the vibe of the thing. In becoming a lawyer, you have today joined a centuries-old profession with ancient origins. The custom of advocates swearing an admissions oath dates back to the 12th century. This court first admitted lawyers to practice in 1824, and by 1830 the roles of lawyers, the names of lawyers were entered onto rolls in this state. You have now become part of this tradition almost 200 years later. Perhaps for some of you, or more likely for your family and friends, that is how long it feels like you've been studying. On that note, I'm pleased to welcome those here with you today or watching on the live stream. For many of you, the support of your family and friends has been invaluable. No doubt they've also often been on the receiving end of your finely polished skills of argument and persuasion. I do hope you take the time to thank them today. The oath or affirmation you have made today is a serious one and deserves solemn regard. Whether you work in private practice, at the bar, in a community legal centre, or an entirely different field, you should be known for your honesty, your integrity, and your commitment to justice. It is an acknowledgement of these weighty responsibilities that we observe today's unique formalities, including the moving of lawyers, swearing of oaths, or even our somewhat unusual choice of fashion. I recall on one occasion some years ago, a young member of the audience asked if we were doing Santa photos after the ceremony. I was very sorry to disappoint her. But although we mark this occasion with formality and tradition, not everything in the legal profession remains unchanging. You will be unsurprised to hear that over the past 2 years we've had to adapt quite a bit. COVID-19 meant a rapid shift to increased use of virtual courtroom setups and technology to ensure that access to justice continued in the midst of the pandemic. Things didn't always go smoothly, as those with me on the bench can undoubtedly attest to. There have been real difficulties to grapple with in terms of open justice, effective communication and fairness to participants. And occasionally a lawyer might have even got stuck behind a Zoom kitten filter. But for all the challenges we faced, the impetus is greater than ever before for us to prioritise flexibility and accessibility. Better use of technology and increased working from home arrangements will have profound implications for how our legal system interacts with many people, including those in rural and remote areas, those with a disability, medical conditions, or carers' responsibilities. As the newest members of the profession, you are at the forefront of innovation in the law and have a unique opportunity to see through changes so that justice is done openly and equitably. There are, of course, other changes that deserve attention. When we think of the diversity of the legal profession, we encounter the duality that we have come very far and that much still needs to be done. Though women were originally not permitted to practice, since 2018, women have made up more than half of all solicitors with a practice certificate in New South Wales and currently make up 63% of solicitors under the age of 30. Women occupy many of the most senior positions in the law, including, of course, the Chief Justice of Australia. However, women continue to face challenges of representation, including amongst judges of this court and amongst barristers in speaking roles before the High Court of Australia. On the other hand, it is heartening to see that the local court of New South Wales has almost achieved gender parity amongst magistrates, but we must not be complacent about these issues. There are other noticeable diversity concerns that we must face head on. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and people from diverse cultural backgrounds continue to be alarmingly underrepresented in the legal profession, and particularly within the judiciary and the ranks of senior counsel. We must also be alert to barriers to the profession from people from less privileged backgrounds. Law should not be a profession for the wealthy, and the idea that students may be dissuaded from studying law by the cost of a law degree, which this year has again increased, or because of other systemic issues, is troubling. Not just this, but we will only achieve a truly diverse profession when barriers to advancement are broken down and people from different backgrounds are properly supported in a collegiate and inclusive environment free from harassment and discrimination. These issues are fundamental to a just and transparent legal system and to the legitimacy of the rule of law. We need diverse representation amongst advocates and judges so that all people who become involved in our justice system can be properly heard and fairly engaged with by a system reflective of our broader community. Despite these challenges, there is real scope for change. There is far greater diversity of background amongst junior lawyers than those who've been around for as long as me. And you only need to look at your fellow admittees in this courtroom and then at the paintings on the wall to see that this is so. You are in a unique position as new lawyers who are entering the profession at a time when more than ever your words and actions are having an impact for good. You are being heard and taken seriously when you agitate to correct injustices, whether it be speaking out about unsustainable working cultures, sexual harassment or bullying within the profession, unfair laws or systemic failings affecting us, society's most vulnerable. I urge you to continue to speak up for these things. They do matter. You are the future of the profession and will steer the direction it will take. As a lawyer, you will also need to make difficult ethical decisions at times. With regard to our personal characteristics, lawyers have been the butt of jokes for centuries. Some may say there are, of course, only a handful of lawyer jokes, the rest are true stories. But jokes aside, you must use the tools you have developed to think critically and not compromise on your fundamental duties to the court and the administration of justice and other ethical duties that you must uphold. Now that you are lawyers, you can get paid for arguing instead of just arguing for free. Of course, there is a lot more to it than that. You're an advisor, a problem solver, a mediator, and an advocate for the marginalised. As you go about your day-to-day work, remember that you're not merely dealing with the law in a vacuum as a series of abstract concepts, but law as it applies to people's lives. For this reason, you must strive to deliver legal services competently and fearlessly with courtesy and integrity. Justice Gageler, before he was a High Court judge, once said, you must be prepared to give the same answer to the same questions for the same reasons, no matter who asks the question or for what purpose or in what context the asking may occur. That is foundational to the rule of law. For those of you who will practice law, the way you communicate information to others will have profound consequences for access to justice. For a non-lawyer, law is often incomprehensible. One of your roles as a lawyer will be to make law accessible to others, sometimes by deciphering legal complexities, other times by deciphering poor legal drafting, and sometimes both. One thing you will regrettably strike throughout your career is legislation which seems carefully crafted with the sole object of ensuring that no one can possibly understand it. Your task is not just to understand it, but to explain it clearly to those whose rights and interests are affected by it. As lawyers, we must not keep the law locked up as something knowable only to us. A client reading your advice should be empowered to understand your meaning, not mystified and confused. So be clear and concise in your writing and your speaking. Plain English is powerful. Consider, do I really need to say aforementioned or herewith? Must I really show off by sprinkling in that Latin phrase? Should I really use double negatives, tautologies and wordy clauses that take up a whole page? I suggest the answer to these questions is invariably no. The best advocates make their points simply and succinctly. Now, some of the most experienced lawyers and judges could also use that reminder, as I'm sure you're aware from some of the cases you've read over the last few years. But don't pick up their bad habits. I also want to speak about failure. I'd not be surprised if there are quite a few overachievers and perfectionists in the room today. Even so, at various points of your career, you will make mistakes, some minor, some more serious. When you do make mistakes, your commitment to honesty, integrity and the administration of justice means that you must take responsibility, correct what you can and learn from those errors. You must fail at times in order to grow. What is important is that you try not to make the same mistake twice. I myself have made many mistakes over the years, too many for me to remember, although my colleagues are always anxious to remind me of them. And even as Chief Justice, my decisions have on occasions been successfully appealed to the High Court. When that happens, I simply grit my teeth and remind myself it's not a mere rumour that the High Court is infallible. But sometimes even dissenting opinions become the law. Finally, I want to emphasise that your mental health is extremely important. This may sound unexpected at this type of ceremony, but the law is not everything. There may be times when you feel overwhelmed, burnt out or distressed. If you do, you should not be afraid to seek professional help or to take a step back when you need to. And remember, the law is a collegiate profession, and at times of difficulty, the support of your peers will prove invaluable. I found that out throughout my practising career. Although you might find it hard to believe, I was admitted quite a long time ago. I lost my first case, and I lost many more after that. But throughout my 35 years in practice, I could always count on the other barristers in my chambers to share my disappointment, the unfairness of the verdict, the sly tactics of opposing counsel, and most often, I regret to say, the obtuseness of the judge or judges before whom I was appearing. Now, I hasten to add I don't include either of my fellow judges on the bench in that comment. On behalf of all the judges of the Supreme Court, and particularly those sitting with me today, can I once again congratulate you on your admission and welcome you to the legal profession. The Court will now adjourn.
Silence all stand.